Mathematics is clear that fractality is infinite compression. Everyone agrees. What is new to science is what a fractal electric field looks like, and that's where we are right here at this moment. So what I newly proved in my new book, Origins of Biologic Negentropy, was that if you took the Planck length and time, visualize the sine wave in the symbol for the Tau, and you multiply by exponents, exact integer exponents powers of golden mean ratio, which we have proven is the mathematics of Mach's constructive wave interference, and therefore the wave geometry of what's called phase conjugation, meaning to add and multiply. Visualize pine cones kissing noses, visualize a caduceus. So if you take that cascade precisely, Planck length and time, which is the musical key signature of all of matter, everyone agrees, and then just whole number exponents, golden mean ratio, you get the exact two frequencies of photosynthesis, the exact duration, almost exact duration of the Earth year and the Venus year. You get the exact radii of hydrogen, new equation, and you get the frequencies of hydrogen, and you get the frequencies of the Schumann harmonic cascade, why Gaia is negentropic, and you get, it turns out, and this is what we learned, when we studied the frequencies Priore used in his plasma, hello, now we know the principle. It's called a phase conjugate negentropic collapse wave, pure implosion. So, you know, I kind of had this genius, that, well, call it what you like, it is pure principle, that this system for waves to implode and collapse, remember, phase conjugation was the first proof that physics ever had that negentropy, self-organization, was possible. Phase conjugate optics. Time reversal, self-organization is solid physics in phase conjugate optics. We have extended that to plasma science. So we took the frequencies Priore used and we fixed it. We tuned it up. We perfected it. The trigger frequencies, kilohertz and inspiring megahertz, all the way down to the low frequency cascade. Now pure physics of the equation. For example, Priore didn't understand that the opposing plasma tubes had to phase conjugate precisely with the phase relationship of invert pair. Again, pine cones kissing noses, exact opposites. So the bioactive field is precisely focused like a lens in the center, just like two opposing lasers phase conjugate. And so you have it basically an implosion field. And that's centripetal, and that is the opposite of swelling, the opposite of tumors, the opposite of cysts. And if, you know, for the sort of biologist who's looking at cancer, for example, remember, we're not making any claims here. We're saying simply that apparently this is a light bulb that's very helpful, and you go try it and see for yourself. We're not making claims here, but you should look at Priore literature because there's lots of documentation. But if a biophysicist is asking you, well, how does that work to help, for example, cancer? Well, if you look at the biophysics of what's happening in the cell, the food's coming in a relatively long wave, and then it becomes a mitochondria, it's a shorter wave. And finally, at the climax moment for the energy field of the cell, before it drives meiosis, mitosis, the DNA replication, you have the shortest wavelength of cell mechanics, which is a high-quality ultraviolet light, the blue fire of the cell. Now, if you made a graph of that harmonic cascade of the cell, it would look like our same caduceus. And that high-quality UV light is just like the sex juice of the cell. If there's no way out for it, like kids having sex prematurely, it's going to replicate, it's going to divide. But if you provide a path out for the high-quality ultraviolet, which in the case of cancer is the touch at the surface, it's a path. So if a cell turns spherical, it's called cancer. And if a cell doesn't respond to touch, namely propagate its UV, that's how you define cancer, contact inhibition. So if you take a harmonic cascade, broad spectral phase conjugation, which is what this is, Thera-Phi Priore, you provide a path through center implosively for the distribution of the creative juice, the ultraviolet of that cell. So every doctor would agree that the distribution of cellular energy is the opposite of cancer. And cancer is a cell that forgot how to distribute its charge. It's very simple. And how do you distribute perfectly? Phase conjugate fractal field. Fractal field is perfected charge distribution. So it's teaching the cells how to share their energy by imploding. So this is a little language, a little conversation about the background, the science, so you can begin to think about it. Read more about the physics at fractalfield.com or Thera-Phi.net. But you can see why we're excited, because this is proof of concept for bioactive fields in general. We have bioactive field plasma, we have bioactive field glass, we have bioactive field electrostatics. You know, Lukovsky was doing this capacitively. We're doing it broad spectrally, much more powerfully, because it's pure implosion right up and down the scale. So, I have carried on enough. This is very exciting breakthrough technology. We invite you to find out for yourself. Again, we're not making claims, but we're saying that pure physics is beautiful, and it's worth looking at, and the experience is actually blissful.